Welcome everyone to the episode 37 of the Classic Show. Today we have Kassandra Gillis and Chris Gurulian. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
We're pretty good. So first of all, I want to say congratulations on the last weekend show. That was pretty epic, right? I mean, I was watching from home, and I have to say, like the second that Kassandra walked on stage, I was like, all right, there's no way anyone else is beating that girl. Like the look was crazy for real. Like, I mean, wellness is still pretty new, so it's kind of hard, especially for guys to like figure out like what is the perfect wellness athlete. But that weekend, you just really showed us that you were.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So now we were just talking off air that you and Chris started to work together like last December, right?
I think it was December. Isn't that right?
Oh my God.
So that's pretty fresh. How did it come about? So maybe
Like,
Kassandra, you want to jump in?
You can go, Chris.
So basically, we were pretty much following on each other on Instagram, and I was really impressed with her physique, and we started chatting a little bit as to what she was going to do as a pro debut, and she wasn't sure, and so I said, you know what, I'd be interested in working with you, and at the time she wasn't working with anyone. So we touched base for a few more weeks. She obviously did her homework, wanted to make sure that we were a good fit before she actually committed. Yeah. And once we started, the first discussion was, okay, are we going to pursue figure or are we going to go into wellness? And as much as she had great success in figure, and that's the division she turned pro in, I felt that she had better potential to go further in the wellness division. And the main discussion that helped us decide to do that was, what does she want to look like as a female? Yep. And obviously the figure division, as much as I love the look, is a more muscular look, especially in the upper body, whereas the wellness division, as much as it's very muscular in the lower body, it's less muscular in the upper, which a lot of females prefer. And I think that's why this division is going to become quite popular. So I told her, look, it's really your decision. I think you have great potential in both divisions, but the flip side of that is also, the figure pro division is quite saturated with a lot of athletes, whereas wellness is new. You can become the face of that division if we do well. And I'm fully confident we can recomp your body into what you need to look like. And some people forget that, my wife was a wellness athlete too, and she ended her career as a wellness athlete, where she won the Montreal Pro Show in the other IFBB league.
Oh yeah,
and we went to the World Championship. So I had experience with what this division criteria was. Yeah. So with that said, I said, look, this is what we can do. You're essentially going to stop training your upper body completely, and we're just going to focus on her lower body. Her quads are phenomenal, so we didn't have to put too much emphasis there. It was really more so the glute hams that we need to work on developing, and while downsizing her upper body. And so that's where we started getting to work. And as we started making some good improvements, when the schedule came out for the pro league, there wasn't many shows for us to do, and I'm like, okay, well, we got to get your name out there. Nobody knows who you are, so that's where we decided to do the Milwaukee show. And so that's how it all started. And I'll let Cass get in, because I could talk forever, as you guys you've already done this before.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, Cass, when was the Milwaukee show?
So the Milwaukee show was about 8 weeks before the Chicago Pro.
Okay.
We were going off of the look we thought was being rewarded at previous competitions like New York and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So we tried to make me come in a lot softer. Then we found out that wasn't really what they were looking for. So we had 8 weeks to make some improvements and bring a tighter package. And apparently it worked the second time. So.
Yeah, big time. Wow. But now we want to know, like, prior to the wellness shows, like Chris pretty much mentioned, you turned pro in figure.
Mm-hmm.
Which show was that you turned pro?
It was in Colombia, February 2020. It was right before the pandemic hit. So I had all these plans to, compete as a pro in figure, and then the pandemic kind of put a halt on everything. And yeah, but wellness is honestly the look that I fell in love with in 2018 when I started to build muscle. But this federation didn't have that look, so I kind of just fell into figure. But I love the look of wellness a lot more than figure.
And did you always compete in figure, or you started as a bikini athlete? And
I went straight to figure. I put on muscle pretty easily, so I was able to go right into figure.
How many shows, like I want to know, how many shows have you done prior to getting your pro card?
So I actually I competed in the Elite Federation first in figure. That was maybe September 2018. And then I did Popeyes a month later, and then Vancouver Pro Show, and then I turned pro in Colombia. So I turned pro my 4th show that I did.
Wow, pretty good.
Better than my 34 shows.
So now for your wellness prep, you pretty much had to stop training your upper body. Was that difficult, or since you kind of chase a look that you really want, it was easy?
I do miss training because I love the hardcore, training style. So I do miss training upper body a bit, but my upper body just grows so easily that I can't even grip the machines right now, or my biceps will start getting bigger. So you'll see me sometimes in videos like with my hands up, so I don't engage my upper body at all.
Yeah, we had to actually revamp her workouts where we don't use any dumbbells or barbells, because just holding, like doing the walking dumbbell lunges, engages her arms so much that they grow. Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of men's physiques and classics out there that are quite jealous of that.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, she basically does all machines, whether it's leverage machines or whatever the case may be, that just, it doesn't require her holding anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So walk us through like the Chicago experience, because now, first of all, that was the first time you met Chris, so that's something. And then like just the experience there, like it's a bigger show than the Milwaukee, of course. There's so many pros at Chicago. So how was it for you?
I'm kind of happy I did Milwaukee first to kind of get experience and learn from our mistakes. I also traveled to Milwaukee by myself, so it was a big mental thing for me to do that. I think Chris coming to the show was like a huge help. Like he was there every time I started doubting myself or anything like that. He was really like, I was in his room posing every couple of hours. It was really great to have him here for this show, for sure.
So how did you feel about that? No, was it Tony?
I just wanted to know if you had any feedback from the judges after the Milwaukee show or the Chicago Pro.
So Milwaukee, they said to come in tighter, to get a bigger bikini top because it was a bit too small. So it was kind of throwing off my balance and my physique. So we did both of those things, and yeah.
Yeah, so outside of that, the feedback that we got from the judges itself, I mean, I was watching the Milwaukee live stream as well. And there's things that I picked up also. Like one, I felt her tan was too light. I didn't like how her hair was done. And all these little aesthetic things matter, especially the higher levels you go where the competition is fierce. Even her, I was looking at her shoes, at changing the type of shoes she was wearing so that she'd be more comfortable posing. Bikini color as well, we changed that as well. So a lot of like minor details that can make a huge difference. And, I'm a big advocate of online coaching. I think it works great. But when it comes to peaking an athlete the last 48 hours, this is where in-person is extremely important. And, Cass really wanted me to come out for this show after being alone in Milwaukee, which was very challenging for her. That made a huge difference because I was able to now see her in person, see how she was evolving from day to day, hour to hour, and constantly adjusting her carb intake, her sodium intake, her water intake to make sure she was filling out gradually, but not losing conditioning as well and keeping her waist tight. And her last 24 to 40 hours was completely different as far as the preparation that we went through as opposed to the Milwaukee show. The Milwaukee also, I made the decision to go with a fuller, softer look because that's what it seemed like it was being rewarded at Pittsburgh, New York. I was wrong, and I have no problem admitting as a coach that I make mistakes too. And that's where her getting the feedback from the judges was extremely important. Because once we got the feedback, boom, okay, let's put this into use. We did, and we went from 9th to 1st, which was honestly, I always knew she could win and qualify for the Olympia, and we kept telling her, myself and my posing coach that worked for me, Ashley, who was a huge help as well, that she's gonna qualify for Olympia, and we had other shows lined up. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly, which was a great blessing. I mean, now that we're here and we see what they want, the feedback from Chicago was don't change a thing, come back the same way. Yeah. I still find there's a couple of things I want to improve with her regardless, through posing, overall presentation, still trying to downsize her upper body a little bit more, work on hamstrings a little bit more, get some more width. Because I'm never satisfied, obviously. And as we talked about on our last podcast we did together, as what's my goal as a coach? Well, my goal is to go win the Olympia.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Now, why not become the face of the Olympia? It's not impossible. We have a Canadian Olympia champion in Chris Bumstead, so let's make two.
Yeah. You're right. So that opens up a couple questions I have. So Cass, like you did figure before, so how was the transition for your posing, as far as posing for figure to wellness? I mean, it must have been pretty challenging.
It was so tough. Figure was a lot more robotic for me, I feel. Like there wasn't that flair. Like it's almost like a hybrid wellness. It has some bikini in it and a bit of figure, I guess, in a way. So it was very challenging to learn the posing, and Chris is on me a lot with that too, to make sure I'm working on it. So yeah, it was a challenge.
And as far as like we know, like this category was a thing in other federations, so does the posing is exactly the same as it was in the other, or it's different?
I think it's
there's some slight differences as to how you hit your front pose and how you hit the side poses. Okay. Actually, each pose there are some differences. Like the back pose, the Pro League and NPC allows for your hair to be on your back, whereas the other leagues don't. The side poses, it's the opposite foot that's in a semi squat position, I guess, or in a bent position. You put your front leg forward. The front pose is just where you're standing straight on with kind of like a feet shoulder width type of stance. So yeah, there's definitely differences as opposed to what the other leagues offer for posing or for poses. But it's still called 4 poses, so as far as the quarter turns go.
Yeah, because I would think like since it's so new here, it would be pretty hard to look for like a standard, to just make sure you do it right.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a lot of room to kind of play with it, though, I think, because it's so new that you can kind of do what looks best for your physique for certain poses.
Yeah, I think the division's going to evolve quite a bit. I mean, just like men's physique, bikini, even classic, if you look at the first Olympia winners in these divisions, now what's being rewarded now many years later is completely different than what it was then. And I'm sure wellness as well will evolve into something very different than what they're rewarding this year. But for now, I think we're matching what they're looking for, and I think we'll have a good chance of competing for that top spot come October.
Yeah. So the thing I'm wondering, because like some of the girls that won the pro shows are kind of different. Like if I think about Yarish, she seemed like a small girl, like not too tall.
Yeah.
The other girl, Angela or Angelica?
Yeah.
Angela. She seems like very tall. So I wonder how you compare those physiques, since like, I mean, I understand it's proportions, but like they're so different, right?
Yeah.
So it's new, but
yeah, it's quite the illusion that's created also. Even Cass, having not met her in person until I thought she was like 5'8". even though it's listed on her file in my app that she's 5'5".
Okay.
Angela, who seems also very tall, is 5'4", 5'5". She's not that
Seriously?
tall. Yeah, because and I was my wife actually competed against her when she did the World Championships in China, side by side, and they were pretty much like even height wise, and my wife's 5'4" as well. So it's this was a concern of mine because when she did the Milwaukee show, she ended up being in initial comparison with a whole bunch of short girls. So she looked like she was towering over everybody. But this past weekend, she as much as she was slightly taller than most of these girls, it wasn't that much of a difference, especially in person when you're there live.
Yeah. Yeah, it was clearly a concern I had because I mean I'm surprised that Angela is only 5'5" because honestly she looks so tall.
Yeah, exactly.
And there hasn't been any Olympia yet with Will, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, this will be the first one.
So, do you know how many pro shows there's been for wellness?
I think there's about 10 total, or maybe 12. I'm not sure, but because there's not many wellness pros or wellness pro shows, they're for this year only. They're awarding the top 2 in each class in each show to qualify for the Olympia.
Okay, that's great.
So, and planning for the Olympia, are you gonna change anything diet-wise, training-wise, or just gonna slide into the show as you did at Chicago?
The plan is to make some changes and try to get better than what we were. I think there's room for improvement in various areas. Training is already set up. I gave her a couple of days to relax, but today was her first day of her prep. Right? You followed your stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so training is already set up. Nutrition wise, we've increased her calories to try to improve and put her in a slight surplus so that she can work on putting on some size without gaining body fat. But then again, with her metabolism, I'm not really worried about body fat. If anything, we always have to focus on not letting her get too lean. So yeah, as far as the protocol for peak week, it always varies. I mean, just because one thing worked this week doesn't mean it's going to work exactly the same way next time, because a lot of variables can change. So that's where, again, I'm glad I'll be there in person once again to be able to judge what's necessary and, you know, take a look at her every couple hours as well when we get there.
Yeah, so let's get back to Chicago. So now, did you have any expectation, Cass, going into that show, like to crack the top 5, win? Like, what was it?
I really wanted to make first call out because the last show I was 9th place, so I barely just made second call out, and I was like, I just want to make first call out at least at this show. But obviously we compete to win, but that was my hope.
Yeah. So how did you felt when you actually got it, like the first call out?
I couldn't believe it. I was just standing in the center, like just waiting to hear my number to be moved, and I just stayed there, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. Like, it's crazy.
Did you knew the other girls that were competing?
Yeah, I met quite a few of them at the Milwaukee show, and I see a lot of them on Instagram and stuff. So all the wellness girls are really nice, and yeah, it was great to compete next to them.
Yeah.
And do you have to execute a routine when it's your finals, or you just have the checkups?
What do you mean?
Like, yeah, I think some girls have T-walks, or some, like, I mean, physiques has a routine to do.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a T-walk in a way. Like, I think we're supposed to come out, hit a pose, and then go to the front.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I feel like the girls have a better camaraderie. Like they stick together. Like the men, not so much, but I tend to see the girls are so friendly. So that's nice.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, it has to make you feel good, like when you're backstage and just know all the girls.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So what went through your mind when you won? You know, when you heard your name as first place, like how did you feel?
Chris is the best.
Just grateful. Like, I don't even have any. Like, it's still sinking in today. Like, I feel like I'm gonna wake up. Like, I don't. Part of me is like, how am I gonna be competing at the Olympia? How am I gonna do this? But just trying not to overthink it, and yeah.
And I want to know how Chris' reaction was, because I remember seeing Chris at regional shows screaming when his athlete won. So I don't imagine how the reaction is when you go to the Olympia.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, I'm very passionate about what I do, and you know, when I'm working with athletes who are serious and work hard, it's that much more rewarding when they get rewarded. I mean, I don't do this for me. I do this to help people achieve their goals. And you know, as much as I wish I made it to the Olympia when I was a pro, I didn't come close to that. So seeing, you know, my athletes go there so many times, it's great. And I mean, I've had other athletes get there and I mean, not place, but still it's the Olympia. When you go there thinking, okay, we can actually go and win this thing, or at least compete to win, you know, that's even more motivating well, you know, make sure there's no stones unturned in this prep as well as it was for Chicago.
Yeah, so I would like to know, Chris, so on your perspective, how was it Chicago? Because now here, as people may or may not know, we didn't have a show since I don't even remember when, in Quebec, right?
Yeah, I know.
So how was it for you to just, I mean, go to the States and attend the show like with some freedom and just feel the vibe again?
Amazing. Honestly, like I think I almost forgot the adrenaline rush of being at a show with athletes competing, especially at a higher level. Like like one of my favorite shows to bring my athletes is the Toronto Pro, especially as far as the amateur as well as the pros, because it's such an amazing event. I think it's one of the top 3 events in the world, let alone in Canada. And having not experienced that for so long, it's like okay, you're constantly working with people online, but there's no actual show to bring them to yet. And having this experience was amazing. I mean, I forgot about the anxiety that I go through. Fortunately, I had my bottle of CBD oil with me, and that always helps me calm down because I'm a nervous wreck on the inside, even though I stay calm on the outside. And every time she started getting nervous, I just put a couple of drops in her mouth.
Oh yeah. Well, everything worked out perfectly. So
yeah, it was great not wearing masks either. That was fun.
Yeah, it must have been.
Or at least having the choice to not wear it.
Yeah.
But we won't get into that.
No. Better not. So how many weeks is it to the Olympia right now?
I think it's 10, right, Chris?
Yeah, 10 weeks out.
So it's gonna go quick. That must be nice, you know, to not have like, I mean, sometimes it's good to have a long prep. But since she's in shape, you know, 10 weeks, I feel is a good spot because you can assess and have time to work and not be like too long or too short.
Yeah, I mean, my game plan right now for her is to try to make some improvements in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So keeping her in a surplus till then, because now having peaked her twice, I know I only need 4 to 6 weeks to get her lean, especially when she has such a great metabolism and she doesn't have to go low calories. I mean, she asks me to do cardio because she's bored, because she only can train three times a week, right? Because it's basically leg day, day off, leg day, day off, leg day, day off.
Really?
So yeah, so we're gonna try to make some improvements in the next 3-4 weeks, see what we can do, and then dial her in again.
So on your side of things, Chris, do you think that she will have to sustain this type of training for a long time?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't foresee her training upper body in the near future, because we still could use her to downsize, and we both know that as soon as she trains a little bit, she's gonna put on size, which she can't afford to do. So those days are over. Once the Olympia is over, we're gonna evaluate first of all how she placed and whether or not you know, we want to put her in another show right away. I mean, Toronto Pro is something I would like to maybe do soon after because it's not far away, to potentially requalify and win the first Canadian Wellness Pro show as well. But she's definitely going to take a good break for a couple of weeks just to deload and give her body a break from the beating she's taking with her leg workouts.
So how do you feel about that, Cass? I mean, because I think it must be challenging, like to consider you're prepping for the Olympia, but you just got to make sure like you rest enough. You know, everything is very calculated. Like you said, you enjoy training hard, but now you have to pace yourself. And obviously Chris helps you with that, but how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I love training legs though, so it's not a huge deal for me. Like I almost had to ease back on the leg training when I was bigger, because I didn't want to be disproportionate. So I like training legs three to four times a week. So
yeah,
I would like to just go back quick because we're talking about your genetics and it seems on another level. But have you always been an athletic person when you were younger?
up until about high school in grade 8 or grade 9, I played softball and soccer growing up. So I was always active in sports when I was younger. And then throughout high school, I kind of drifted away from that. And then after having my son and gaining some weight is kind of when I started to get back into bodybuilding, or started to get into bodybuilding actually.
And I guess from there you just blew up and
Yeah, I guess I started putting on the muscle and seeing changes, and then it just becomes addicting at that point.
yeah, perfect.
yeah, so
And now we're trying to destroy all that upper body muscle.
that's crazy, but it just goes to show like what you have to do, you know, to be the best, you know, in your category. So that's that it takes discipline, you know, to do that. You know, some athletes like probably wouldn't listen like to the coach, like, what do you mean not training my upper body, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard for sure. The odd time I'll be like, "Are you sure not some like rear delts or just a little bit?" And he's like, "No, nothing."
Yeah, that's where having trust in your coach and having someone that really understands the criteria of the division that you're prepping for and can actually develop and produce that is extremely important. You know, what I think my biggest strength is my eyes as a coach is understanding what someone needs to look like to be successful and then actually producing that. I wouldn't say I'm the most educated in nutrition or supplement or training, but if I were to have to say what my biggest strength is actually seeing what needs to be improved to match the criteria of every division.
yeah,
Especially when it comes to wellness, bikini, men's physique, even classic. Bodybuilding and women's physique, I don't really go there because that's not my strength. But those four categories that I mentioned is really what I like to prep because that's what I know the best.
yeah, yeah, and it shows. I mean, again, I want to really congratulate you both on that win. It was a very nice win, and it was nice to see. Like, it was a pretty epic weekend for a Canadian, right? With Patricia too winning,
Yeah.
and then Cass. I mean, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So
And for you, Cass, did you ever imagine yourself going to the Olympia?
I said to my husband it was my goal to make it there within 5 years. So it happened a
5
lot
months.
sooner.
Wow.
yeah, so that's crazy. You're going there now.
Mhm.
So on that note, we'll let you rest. I mean, you're deep into prep, so don't want to hold you too long. So thank you guys for coming on here just to educate us a little bit more about wellness. So that was great, and we'll follow your prep, and hopefully you come victorious in
We'll
Orlando.
do a recap about the Olympia win.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I don't coach to participate, so we're going there to do some damage. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. So, all right. So on that note, thank you guys.
Thank
and
you.
for
we'll
having
keep in
us.
touch.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right.
Bye.